All right, everybody. Here we go again. Two
Hmm.
conscious men just talking. Daniel on one side and Mario here, myself on this side. And
Yes.
well, Daniel, it's been an adventure for you. I know we've all you moved to a new place, and for me,
Mm.
over here, my life has been kind of going just a little bit chaotic. Things are moving, or things are flowing, and I think that's a good thing for all of us. I think everybody's kind of, I noticed everybody's kind of shifting in a way or something.
Yeah, it seems like a very fast-paced time.
Yeah, it does. I'm not sure astrologically what's going on, but it feels like there's some planet shaking us, or, there's always something moving us one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, summer's coming, so it's
Mhm.
kind of you feel it. Like there's almost like a more doing
Mhm.
action, more of that chariot card of like the tarot, I feel like, that
Yeah.
comes through at this time. Because the solstice is next week, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm pretty sure it's next weekend. So,
Yeah. It's usually always the 21st. So, yeah, it would
yeah.
be next week.
Yep.
Yeah. And the solstice is pretty cool. There's always events going on, drumming events. I actually went to the solstice in Chichen Itza, where
Oh, nice.
that was nice. I actually was there for the whole 2012 thing, and there was like a shaman blessing the entire crowd. Everybody was dressed in white, and it was a really cool view. So I can only imagine what it looked like during the Mayan times, but it was packed, of course.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I'm going to work a music festival. I'm a media person. I don't know how I got into this. Talk about the flow. Like I'm on the media team and I don't even know what I'm doing. So just got to interview people. I don't. I'm just gonna pretend I'm a media person basically. But for the solstice, so I'm super excited. It's called Sonic Bloom. It's in Colorado.
That's cool. That
Yeah,
uh, being able to interview people during the solstice at a festival, I mean, that's going to be a lot of fun. You get to interact with a lot of people.
it's my favorite thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't see you being like a lone wolf somewhere. You definitely do seem like somebody that would like to be out there with the people.
Yeah, there's a balance. I'm really
I
good at retreating. Really good at hiding for a while.
well, aren't we all? I know I like my space. That's one of the things that I've learned throughout this. I'm a very sociable person, but there's a point in time when I just got to retreat. And retreating means either playing a video game or just hanging out and reading a book or just doing nothing and just staring out the window. And it's
Yeah,
it's very healthy too. I mean, because after that I feel very rejuvenated after all of that. And it's
yeah,
something we don't do too often because we're always go go go.
yeah. I was told to retreat last night. I was at a ceremonial dance,
Mhm.
and I mean, I'm gonna go do stuff this afternoon, but just taking the morning off
Mhm.
and just meditating and chilling and hanging out and going walking, like I
Yeah.
feel like a new person. And it only took 6 hours of
Yeah.
just or 2 hours of meditating, but if we take these little breaks and the little retreats, they make a huge difference.
Yeah, one of the things that I've discovered really helped me relax is of all things drumming, and I'm talking like the hand drums, the shamanic drum type, the meditative drumming. So just hitting the drum for a while, or just playing my didge or something like that. That seems to be very a lot of medicine for me, I guess you could say, where it just helps me find my Zen place and just kind of discover my center again. And it's been very interesting to see that because I used to think I needed to go on vacation or I needed to do this to get back into that space. But actually, I found like different other ways of doing things. And I think that's pretty cool that we can have that many different things. And it's just discovering what that thing is for each one of us.
Yeah. Um, Positive psychology talks about it. It's like getting in the flow state. So studied it, and they show that's like one of the top things you do to increase happiness. So basically, you want to forget about time, right?
Uh-huh.
When you're having fun playing whatever, you don't look at the clock, and like that goes away. There's no like, you're so in the moment. And when we don't have something like that puts us in that flow state, like it affects our whole, we can't relax because we can't just be in the moment.
And what's it called?
I mean, they just call it getting in the flow state. So
Getting in the flow state. Oh, interesting.
yeah, but it's from positive psychology. But I mean, we all know that, like, it feels good to paint or to play an instrument, or even a video game can do that, or going in nature and leaving your phone in the car so you don't know what time it is. Like all those things are like super important, because it just, without that flow state, we lose ourselves in like the structure, and then we feel stuck, and there's this like stress and anxiety that comes with that. But if you have that space to let yourself flow, you're going to feel a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. It's, I mean, I love that you're talking about the psychology part, because, you know, a lot of this stuff that I learned, I mean, I didn't learn through psychology. I did read about psychology, but even before that, I was doing more of the shamanic work. And it's kind of nice as I started reading and then just talking to you, confirming it's like, oh yeah, that is something. It's like, that's kind of neat.
Yeah. I mean, it's not talked about, which is weird, but they say, you know, your happiness depends on your relationships, your flow state, doing something with meaning, and meditation and exercise. Like, it's pretty simple how to be happy. Like, they've studied it, but no one does those things. Everyone's like, oh, I need to make more money, or I need, like, we're wired to do the exact opposite of what actually makes us happy. And surviving is important, but after that, studies have shown it's not very important.
So I wonder what's your thoughts on, especially since you studied psychology, why do you think some of this stuff is not out there as easy? Do you feel that it's the people just don't slow down enough? Is it there's not I mean, what's your idea? What's your belief on why some of this information is not out there? Because the only reason I found out about some of this stuff is because I started doing some inner work. Other than that, I never heard anything like this before.
Well, there's nothing really on TV or the media that's very positive. So I can't imagine you're going to watch the news and they're going to tell you how to be happy, because that wouldn't be, that really wouldn't help the commercials make you buy Domino's pizza afterwards. So I take advantage of that by delivering food, but people are unhappy. They're watching TV and the news, and they order food to fill that void, right?
That's true.
It's ridiculous how much money people spend on ordering food. But I've done it, so I know. But I just don't think there's any benefit, or it's not captivating. It's like, we already know that, right? Oh, are you working together for a common goal and like having meaning, and like, I mean, this is not like rocket science, but it's pretty simple. And the more appreciative you are, right? All those things just, people think happiness is going to be found externally, but it really isn't. I mean, there's certain actions you can take, right? Like if you paint more and do that stuff, but that takes the internal work to me to then choose to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it interesting that we always seem to concentrate on the negative, and whether it's conditioning, the human psyche, or whatever, it's incredible to me to see how many people don't see the positive side of things. That's, you know, as I go deeper and deeper into my own self-awareness, I begin to see how we've created a society where we're always something negative. And yes, the media has some of it to do with it, but there also has to be some part of us that's not, you know, for whatever reason, is not moving to that positive side. Unfortunately for me, it's like, well, or fortunately, however you want to see it. With me, it took my brother kind of rattling my cage, getting killed and everything, and being a pain lesson like that. I wonder why the human condition, the human mind, doesn't listen to other things. Are we just too busy? I'm thinking that's probably what it is.
Yeah, Yeah, and part of me is thinking like you're never taught it. I mean, I was depressed and suicidal when I was 16, and what saved me was just thinking more positively. Like I had a therapist that had me do that, and that was pretty ahead of her time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember her name, but I was very lucky. Because most people like delve into the problem, right, and fix that, and let's take action to fix the problem, but that doesn't work. You have to fix the mind, and then the actions change. You can't fix the actions to change the mind. That's like what everyone's doing, and it doesn't work. And we're just taught the opposite, right? Oh, do your homework, and then you get to play. It's like, do this one action, then you'll be happy. So everyone's like living out that paradigm of, oh, I'll get this job, then I'll be happy, right? I get this car and this thing, or the family, or the relationship, or the baby, or whatever. But you got to get your mind right, and then the actions change. So if you're just not taught it, I was never taught how to use my mind as a kid. I was taught social studies, that wasn't really true. So
that's true. No, you know, one of the things that's come up with me is that when we're when we're a kid, it's like we're always very free flowing, and sometimes the childhood does kind of mold us in a certain way. And I had, because of my cultural background, I'm Mexican or Hispanic or Latino or whatever the PC term is about that. So my culture has its stereotypes, and it's very interesting because in at least the way I grew up, you could say I'm a U.S. mostly U.S. grown up here because I came over when I was 7 years old, but I also grew up in Mexico, and then when I grew up here, I grew up in my own culture here, and it was very very interesting growing up because with my culture, our family's very tight, and we're taught this and taught that. And then as I became part more of the I guess the American culture, I can understand now why I'm Mexican American or Latino or whatever. Anyway, so that gave me even some more conditioning, and I actually have struggled sometimes understanding the two cultures because sometimes when I'm with somebody, uh, I get confused, and because I grew up in this way, I do this, and then because I grew up the other way, I try to do certain things. So I sometimes would have gotten very confused in what my beliefs are. And it's so funny when I went to after my brother, I went for about like 3 weeks to go see a therapist. Somebody recommended to him before I went to the shamanic work, and she was actually one of the like yours, like a little bit more modern because she actually even she said, "Well, what are your beliefs?" And I go, "Oh, well, I kind of believe in the Buddhist philosophy." And she said, "You know what? This book will really help you." And reading that book kind of changed everything for me. And I stopped looking at the difference in the culture and started realizing, oh, wait a minute, this is who I am. So my conditioning kind of started breaking apart from that. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, what was the book? Do you remember?
Emotional Alchemy.
Yeah. I've read that one.
Yeah, I actually read that one. And if whoever gets it out there, it's interesting because she gives you exercises at the end of each chapter. And what helped me, I would do the chapter. I would read the chapter, and then I would do the exercise, but I wouldn't continue on to the next chapter until I felt pretty comfortable in doing the exercises. So it took me about 3 years to finish the book, but it helped me out because at that time, at the end of that book is when I started Vipassana, and then I did the shamanic work also. And that kind of just one step after another step after another step and another step, and it was really cool. Because then Wayne Dyer came into my awareness, then Marianne Williamson, and Matt Kahn, and all of those brought a whole different aspect of it. But it was like I could see the stair stepping of it, and it's pretty cool once we find our individuality.
Yeah. No, and I think emotional intelligence, I like to call it. I don't even know if that's a term. Like that's what it's teaching, and that's what we don't learn,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to be in a flow state, you have to have like that emotional intelligence to flow with your emotions too,
Mm-hmm.
to have them come in and out. And we're just not. We're basically taught to neglect our emotions and to go pursue our dreams, right? So you
Yeah.
go to your Starbucks, so you don't pretend you hate your job, and you drink it on your way, and then you get your job, and you're just ignoring your emotions, and then you're like, drink. I was delivering food, and it's funny to watch people that I was in downtown Denver, and just watching the people go get coffee at like 2 p.m. and I'm like, wow, like they're just like neglecting all their like I'm watching what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not judging it, I'm just observing it, and
Yeah.
like it's just kind of funny. I'm like, one, I forget that world exists because I'm so detached from it, but I'm just like, whoa, like they don't know, like that they're just quelching all their emotions. And I've done it before, but
Mhm.
um, what I've realized more in me is that like neglecting our emotions, our parents didn't know how to deal with their emotions, and neither did our
Yeah.
teachers, so we never got taught. And then we're neglecting ourselves, and then it becomes this like abusive cycle,
Yeah.
um, which is sad.
Yeah. I actually was talking to my mom yesterday. I went to go visit her, and we had an interesting conversation because we were talking about, love, and it, and it's interesting because as we were talking, we made a really close connection where really the only love that we can give is the love that we know. And sometimes the love that we know is not the love that somebody else is looking for because they learned a different type of love or they see a different type of love and they're wondering what that is. Like some people like to buy gifts and that's their way of sharing love, or some people speak lovingly to you, or you always have the tough love, what they talk about. But if we don't know any different, how else can we give some different type of love? It really is I guess the word is interesting conundrum.
Yeah. No, it makes me think of the love languages. I'm also not a fan of tough love. I feel like we can just throw that one out of our vocabulary, like as a culture, and just like be kind. Because there's no reason you have to call people out. Like you
Yep.
you can like say it lovingly. Like you could be like, well, you need to be more, you're yelling and you're a jackass or
Mhm.
whatever. Or you could be like, hey, I would really appreciate if you talk to me in a kinder voice. Like one, they're the same thing, but
Mhm.
like people just use this tough love thing to like tell people what to do. But I'm not. I don't know. I hope that goes away.
Well, to me, it's interesting how you describe tough love because I define tough love a little bit different.
Yeah.
To me, tough love is more like you're a little bit more direct, not derogatory, not telling them, you're stupid for doing that. I don't mean that. What I mean is more like there's so much uh, that we avoid confrontation that we don't talk directly. So, hey, when you do this, it upsets me. I guess that's what I mean more by about tough love is that not be afraid to tell how we feel inside and not in a derogatory way. Because I recognize that my dad was abusive towards my mom, and uh, I saw that very much. Where my dad was speaking anyway, speaking a lot about all of that, and the screaming and yelling and all of that. I didn't see how it could be beneficial. I mean, it scarred me. I mean, that was one of the things I had to heal about how I felt about things. It was interesting because it really did shape the way I am. Seeing my dad be that way, I actually, instead of becoming him, I decided to go the other way, and I'm actually more loving and touchy feely type person. So sometimes it drives some people crazy because I am that way.
Right. No, I definitely relate to that
Hmm.
because yeah, I mean, I definitely became more nice and forgiving to the point maybe I'm too far on that coin and not direct enough where I'll just like let things go, because I
Yeah.
want to be nice. But finding that balance, I think, is important where it's like saying what you need to say, but also taking the time to make sure it's expressed in a way that's
Yeah.
beneficial, right? It's helpful. It's not coming from this angry, frustrated place.
Yeah, and that's the key. I mean, being able to express it in a way that's not derogatory, not cruel, and just expressing the emotions, because we've never really been taught to be that way. We're taught to be angry, not to be angry, so we hold it all inside. And I think that's
Right.
why a lot of this abusive part comes in, because we're taught to, oh, you can't say that. It's like, well, hold on. It's like we have to allow our bodies to express ourselves, our mind, our heart, and everything. If we don't express it, it's just going to be building up and building up.
Right. And I've done that before. I'm an expert at holding it in and then exploding at the wrong time. Like that's definitely a pattern I've had in the past.
Yeah,
and I don't think, and like the question I ask myself is like, what do I need? And if I ask that question to myself a lot as an empath, sensitive person, then I start saying different things, and then it almost doesn't avoid the confrontation, but it's easier because it's like, oh, I need this. So I'm going to do that, whatever that is, right? If I need space or I need to retreat, or if I need to, whatever it is, right? And if I'm talking to a woman and I need more space, I'll say, I asked what, I needed a nest, right? So I've been nesting. Like that's what I needed to do right now. So I think that's a good question to ask, especially as like awakening men, where you don't want to become like the Casanova that's just pleasing the woman and then being angry at the ends. Because I've done that path and it doesn't work.
Hey, guilty. It's interesting because we always seem to either we put them, and at least for me, it's like I used to put them in this high statue where, okay, I can't do this because that'll upset them. So I was sacrificing myself. And then I went to the other extreme. It's like, I was more, it's like, no, this is about me and don't care about that. And I had to discover that balance point, that middle point of where are my needs, or I'd rather say, what are my wants? It's like, what would I like out of this? And expressing that better rather than being very pushy. I can't even describe it. It's been very interesting, especially since I grew up with very strong women. So I was very intimidated by all that.
Yeah, me too. It's just really interesting. And then, I think it's so important to find that balance because, you want to give to the person and make them happy. And, there is that aspect of it, which might be what you need, but making sure you're not sacrificing yourself, right? So if you got to work that day, like I've done this in the past because I work my own job, and then I'm neglecting my business or that side for the relationship, that I have to find that balance. But it could be, you don't want to obviously be so pushed back that you won't do anything the other person wants to do, because that won't work in the long term.
Yeah, and that's the tough balance, isn't it? I mean, trying to figure out, okay, when am I not pushing too much, and when am I retreating too much? Yeah.
No, and what I've learned, and I keep on telling people, you never find the balance. I was doing too much, right? And I had a really fun weekend. There was a lot going on, and it was fine. I wanted to do all those things. I'm like, all right, this weekend I'll chill more because I know I'm going to this festival next weekend. Like, it's just, people think there's going to be this balance. Like, you're going to always, but you get tired, and then, you go on a 3.5 week road trip, and then you chill for a little bit, and then you go back. And it's like, but then what people do is then they beat themselves up for not being balanced, and they're trying to find this perfect way of being that doesn't exist. Like, it's a flow, right? The river goes slow, then it goes fast, then it goes slow, then it goes medium. Like, and people want to they want it to be so like this the whole time, which is fine, but I've never lived life like that. That's how seasons work. That's how nothing works. Nothing is that. The consistency is like being inconsistent and going with that flow. And maybe having a ritual that's consistent, but other than that, flowing with everything else.
I think you hit it right on. It's not really about finding the middle point, but finding that spacing between, I guess, not necessarily the middle point line. It's that pace where you go like this, because life is a big curve, and I'm not saying it's a line. It's like it's definitely like this. It's you have one extreme and then you have the other, and maybe that's where the pain comes in. Maybe that one extreme is the pain, and it's like, oh, it's like, hold on, there's too much stuff going on, or the other one where there's nothing going on. You know,
Right.
that could be it too. But I agree with you. There is no middle point that's always going to be consistent because it's life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other kind of the cosmic joke or the joke is that we're supposed to find our balance, not that life is going to balance us out. Like say, like I was going too fast and then my back started hurting. Like I tweaked my back and I was like, oh, universe is telling me to slow down. Like I knew it's like life is going to balance me out. So like, I don't have to really figure it out.
Yep.
Being so lost and like, I'm going to figure out my life. And I'm like, good luck. Because the river doesn't figure out where it's going to go next. The banks just take it where it needs to go, right? The waterfall's created. You will have moments where you rest and then life will just kick you and it'll be like, go. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
And it's fine. And then you just go with it.
Yeah, the middle point is there's really no middle point. It's the general area.
Right.
And you're right. It's like the universe doesn't work that way. It's like there is no constant in the universe. There might be patterns, but I don't think there's like a linear line of anything. Definitely. It's definitely a place to always be moving, ebb and flowing, I guess is what the words that could come to me is. If you're here, you're here, you're here, you're here, you're here, you're here. You're never just steady. And if you are, man, you must be working very hard to be in that middle line.
Right. And that gets real boring really fast. I mean, that's why the person drinks coffee at 2 p.m. Like that person has so much like they're a robot going to the job and, and hopefully they have some spontaneity on the weekends or whatever, right? Like that's the balance, hopefully. Or their job is at least like, fulfilling in some way. I'm not saying like having a job like that is bad, but like that's not how we're naturally supposed to be. And our whole society is structured based on, and I've known this till now, like of being consistent, like that people are going to have the same energetic level every single week. But that's not how life works. So, like to expect your employees to like consistently work when they're going to be like this, and hopefully it's middle, but like, I mean, there's no sports player that can do that, and they're the best in the world. Yeah. And you look at baseball players; they're there's some people that are more consistent than others, but like, nothing is that consistent. But that's what we think. We're like, oh, I'll save up this much money this week, and I'll make the same amount of money every week in my business. Like, there's no business that's ever run that way. So like, just gotta flow with it, and that makes life easier because it's going to be up and down, and then you don't freak out when you're like chilling or I don't have energy, because people do that. They're like, I don't have energy. How do I get energy? I'm like, stop trying to find ways to get energy. Just chill for a day. If you chilled for 3 hours and didn't watch TV and just meditated, you will have energy. Or maybe in a week, but it's going to happen.
It's interesting, because I was actually listening to a podcast, and as you were talking, one of the things that was coming to me, it's like, well, people might say time is consistent. And actually as hearing this podcast, there was a time, there was a moment in U.S. history that every town had their own time. So if in Houston, it was 12 o'clock, in Denver, it could have been 4 o'clock. And they never, for a long time, they didn't have any consistent time. And it took the railroad first to figure out, okay, how are we going to figure out what time the train's going to arrive there and all of this.
I mean, yeah.
And the only reason they came up with the time is for that. Other than that, I mean, it's funny because that really shows time really was irrelevant at the time. The only reason we had time is because people had to coordinate a way to travel. And really, when you think about it, you probably don't even need that, but for a business or something like that, that would have to happen, something like that, which means more controlling of your time, more controlling of something that's not even real.
Yeah, I mean, scientifically, time is an illusion, right? And
Yes.
so is space.
Mhm.
So, but from the standpoint, we need it to measure things. And how you use your time is super important. But really, it's how you use your life. So when
Yeah.
people are like, how do I use you got to use your time wisely. Well, you really got to use your life wisely. And what does that
Right.
mean? I don't know. Every moment's different, right? Like I didn't
Mhm.
watch Netflix, and now I'm watching anime once a night for 20 minutes because I haven't
Mhm.
watched TV in like 6 months, and it feels really good. That feels like a good use of my time right now because
Mhm.
it's like excites my inner child. My nerdiness is coming out. But
Mhm.
like, but you really like time is very. It was funny because I was hiking today and I wanted to get back to my house by 1, and I didn't bring my watch. Like I didn't bring my phone, and I was like, whatever, it'll be perfect. And I got back to my house at 1 o'clock, and I did not have a clock. Like
Right.
life just got me where I needed to be in that moment. Now I didn't need to be there at 1, but I was like, oh, that's the flow state. Like you don't even have to look at the clock. I mean, yes, you want to make appointments. Like time is good, right? You want inches to measure out your
Yeah, in that way.
house so they can make but that's what time's for.
Mhm.
Um, but people take it way too seriously.
Yeah, they put a lot of structure into their time. And I mean, the reason I brought up the example of the different towns is because that shows that time is only relevant to the individuals doing it.
Yeah.
and and yes, we live in a society where time is, but in the reality of things, I I love what you said also. It's like we can work with our life. It's like that's really what we're working with. We're not working with time, we're working with our life. That
Right.
that's the only one that really matters.
Yeah. And I've never, yeah. And it's still using your time well. I mean, I get that. It's a
Mhm.
measurement of your life. So, like, are you painting or doing the things you love? Or you can, I guess, waste time. I don't really
Mhm.
know what that really means. But, I mean, if you're choosing to go on Facebook or you're choosing to meditate, if you choose to meditate, I guarantee you the universe will give you more things to do that will fulfill you. It's really weird. I don't know why that works, but
Mhm.
well, it just makes sense. It's just a reflection of what you're doing, right? You're putting out, hey, I want to do this and I want to better myself and feel better. And the universe is like, okay, we'll give you more things to make you feel better. But if you're like, I want to self-punish myself and look at all these things that make me not happy and eat this food that makes me feel like crap, then the universe is like,
Mhm.
all right, we'll give you more of that. Like, that's cool. Um, it's so funny when people are like, the universe is punishing me. I'm like, the universe doesn't have a conscious mind.
Yeah.
It's just reflecting back. Like, it's not like the universe is like looking at you and like judging you like a teacher. Like, it's just consciousness. So it's just showing you back. Like, it's funny. It's
Whatever
like,
you put out is what you get back.
I mean, I haven't seen any evidence of anything else.
Yeah, and the other part is I think we stress ourselves out when we schedule everything. Because I see
Yeah.
some people that schedule everything, and it's like, oh, it's 5 o'clock. I need to go to the gym. Oh, it's 5:30. That means I need to be doing weights. Oh, it's 6 o'clock. Now I got to go jog. And oh man, that just stresses me out. Just going through that little exercise. I That's why I believe that there should be, when you're interacting with somebody else or with people that are very aligned with time, then schedule the time. But personal time or anything, I would just go with the flow. It's like, oh, I got to do laundry. Okay, I'm gonna go do laundry. Oh, what else do you? Okay, do that. And just have. That's why I like to work off more of a list. And it's like, oh, okay, I need laundry, or I need to go to the grocery store. But that's really about as structured as I get with my time. Uh, Other than
Yeah.
that, I mean, we just schedule when we can. The different type of things.
Yeah. No, I've been finding a good balance with that because I
Mm-hmm.
do like some of my day being scheduled because I don't have to think. And
Mm-hmm.
I am not. if you schedule your day, do not get attached to it. That's what people do. I
Yes.
actually like write out my intentions for the day, and then I don't look at it. I
Mm,
trust that the universe is going to fulfill my intentions. Almost like you would do in a ceremony, right? You say your intention, then you let it go. Like, I don't like look at my thing all day. Obviously, if I get appointments, like I realize I need to keep appointments in a book because I was missing them because life got so flowy. But again, then I was supposed to miss that appointment. So it's kind of funny because we got to do what we were going to do later that day anyway.
mm-hmm.
So it's pretty hilarious. But yeah, finding that balance between that masculine like intention setting, but
Yeah.
not. And yeah, I'll say like, hey, I'm going to go work from, do delivery from like 4 to 6 to 10 or whatever. But if I get there at 6:45, I'm not going to freak out. But that's what people do. Like, we started 15 minutes late, but I just text like, hey,
Yeah.
And then, that works. So there's some balance there because you can go too much on the flow, I think. And I've done that and have nothing
Yeah.
structured and nothing ever happens.
Guilty right here too.
But this morning was flow time, and I ended up doing what I intended, but like I didn't have a schedule until this, and then so I do like half my day, and then I have a day a week at least that I don't have anything scheduled.
Yeah, and that's part of it. It's we have to find what we're comfortable with, and that's why I said when we're working with somebody that we know that's very schedule oriented, then it's like, all right, this is the way it works. It's like, okay. But when we're working with somebody like you and I are pretty fluid with our schedules, so we just work with it as much as we can, and we don't stress out about it. We go, it's like, all right, well, obviously it was meant to be this way. So that you're absolutely right. Not being attached to it, and we're just so we have a tendency of doing that so much. We attach ourselves to anything, and I really do feel that control is a major thing of the human psyche. It's like it wants to control. I mean, look how we take care of the lawn. Look how we it's like we want to make sure that the car is always maintained at 3,000 miles. We want to make sure this happens or that. It's like, holy cow. It's like, come on, give it a little break.
Right, because it depends. Like, I actually, funny you talk of the car mile thing, I actually get my oil change based on my intuition, and I've been over, and something is saying it doesn't need it. Like, but I went on a road trip, which actually is good for a car and is less stressful on it. So, again, it just depends how you're driving, how many miles. And of course, the oil change company is going to tell you to get your oil change way earlier than you need to because they want you to do it. So, like, it's just funny. And control is the shadow side of the masculine. And if there's anything our culture is in the West, it's the shadow side of the masculine. So it's a bunch of people trying to control other people. And our relationships, our businesses, that's wrapped up in it. It's getting better, but like we're controlling our kids. We're like, let's give kids prescriptions so they don't run around in circles, but they're 4. Like we control everything. And we think that's actually going to get us to where we want to go, which it could. But you see a lot of millionaires that are miserable because they've controlled their way to the top.
Yeah, and I mean, also when you talk about kids, it's how many kids are actually doing cheerleading? How many kids are? Oh, we got to take them to soccer practice. Oh, we got to take them to football practice. And it's sometimes I see some of these moms or dads that are taking their kids one event after another, after another, after another, and it's like, I didn't grow up that way, so I can only speculate what it's like for the kids now having a schedule. I mean, talk about a stress at such a young age. It's like, oh, I got to go do soccer practice, and then the parent going, oh, you know what, we can't be late to this. That's got to be. I don't know. Maybe that's why our society's changing so much. The kids are rebelling and going, it's like, hold on, wait a minute. I don't want that much control in my life.
No. I mean, I remember that as a child. I mean, you already put a kid in school for 6.5 hours a day, which is a lot for a kid. Like, a kid doesn't, children are supposed to be playing, right? Like, look at lions or animals. Like, that's how they learn. So, and science has proven that playing it's like 10. I gotta look up exactly. I
Mm.
gotta do more research on it, but like 10 times, at least you learn 10 times faster playing than you do anything else. So if you can play and learn something, it's faster.
Mm.
And you need structure around things too, but like there's this playful way of doing it. But taking away that from the kids with learning and their lives, you know, with homework or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I know in Asian cultures, I was having lunch with someone from, I think Taiwan, and just the amount of control they have on kids at a young age is like, you think America's bad, it's like another level. And of course, then they grow up and they work all their hours. You know, we're conditioned.
Yes.
I don't want to go conspiracy, but there's some conditioning, right? They want to make kids factory workers. That's what our school is based off of. That's not even a conspiracy. That's what it was. So like, they want us to like get there on time and be there with the bell. Like, and if we're not controllable, like that's awesome. But that's where we need to get to.
Yeah, it's like Pavlov's dog. When the bell rings, you got to go do this. When they say the bell for break time is over, then break time's over. I mean, it starts very young, and so funny that we talk about time because now we've been talking so much about time that we're running out of time.
I know. I love the conversation of time. It is my favorite. It might be the most thing I've asked the universe questions about and studied more than anything. It's just time. I think it's so interesting. Even like, yeah, like how fast it goes when we talk to each other, right? It doesn't feel like an hour.
No, it
but
doesn't.
if I'm meditating, if I'm sitting in nature, especially by myself, an hour feels like a lifetime. Like if I'm sitting in 8 hours in the woods by myself, you look at people in isolation chambers, they start to go insane and they lose track. Like they're like, it's been 8 hours, but it's been 10 minutes. So like, if time was so real, then it would be consistent, but it's not.
What's so funny about what you said about the isolation chamber, it's like, I personally like being there. I could be there for a long time. But then again, I don't see time the same way as the society is. So yeah, I can understand somebody that's schedule based going, oh man, this has been a long time in here.
Yeah.
They don't know the time.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up here. And once again, let's do a challenge. You went first last time, so I guess I'll go this time. So my challenge it's real simple. It's like any clocks around your house, since we talk so much about time, it's like put like a little bit of tape on them so you don't see it. Turn off your phone so you don't see the time on there. And just be a whole day without looking at your phone or anything like that, and just see how time just flies by. Because it's a whole different experience when you're not looking constantly at a clock.
Yeah, I agree. And what I do, if you're a scheduled person, schedule time to have nothing to do, and allow yourself that balance of like flow and that time of just creation. Because the greatest things come from that like free forming creative time. And if you don't give yourself that space, Wayne Dyer talked about, he would sit for 5 hours to write his book a day, and he might write 10 words or write 1,000 or 10,000, but he always sat in that space. But there wasn't any expectation with the time, what was going to happen. And I think we expect and plan so much, we don't give the universe the chance to like throw things we couldn't even expect into our lives.
Yeah.
Which if I look back on my life, like I was reflecting on it a couple days ago, I didn't expect anything that happened. I just knew in the moment I was supposed to know exactly what to do next. But I didn't plan it. Like I couldn't have planned I was going to be living here.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't part of my 5-year plan where I'm at now.
I don't think it ever turns out that way. And if it does, then that means we're very structured.
Sounds so boring.
To me too. Well, Daniel, do you want to just add on a little bit to that challenge, or do you have one? If it's okay if you don't either.
Well, Okay. Well, the challenge is to make sure you have time to play. And if you got to schedule it, schedule it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you all for always listening in. And of course, you're welcome to comment and subscribe and, just let us know what you think.
Sounds good. Love you guys.
Love you. Love you guys. And we'll see you next time.